Atletico Madrid are certainly a team in transition. This season they finished in 4th place in La Liga, nearly 20 points away from the eventual winners Real Madrid, and on top of that they've been on an eternal hunt to win the Champions League, losing 3 times in the final in their history, never winning it, and actually losing twice in the final in the last 10 years. If that wasn't enough, they've got an old squad on some massive wages, lots of which seem undeserved, so it's time for a change. I'm going to step in and I've got 5 years, not just to win them the league, but also the UCL. But even with all those problems, let's be honest, we do have a lot going for us. A massive reputation as a side with a huge stadium, a new stadium too, with great facilities all around. And it's not a team that isn't used to winning trophies. They've got 11 top division wins in Spain. They've also won 3 Super Cups, 3 Europa Leagues. It's just that Champions League where, as you can see, it doesn't seem to quite work for them. And whilst they might not appear as anyone's first choice of being a European contender at the minute, they do have some very good players in their team already. Frenchman Antoine Griezmann might be getting on the older side, but is clearly still one of the stars of the team, whilst Jan Oblak is one of the world's best goalkeepers and has served them well between the sticks. And they've also got hard-working midfielder Marcus Llorente, who is a big talent. And whilst a lot of their team is on the older side, there are still a few good young prospects at the club. Take in real-life Chelsea target Samu Amoro Dion, who looks like a brilliant young striker, spent last year on loan. And there's Pablo Barrios too, a midfielder with good ability but lots of potential. But as mentioned, the squad has a couple of problems. The first one is the wage structure, where a lot of these guys are on massive wage packets, like Saul Niguez, who hasn't really done much for them in the last few years, has been loaned out but is on 200 grand a week. And João Felix, another one who spent quite a lot of time out on loan, who is on one of the biggest contracts at the club. And then you've got the age profile of the squad, where you realise a lot of the players are 30 plus. On top of that, the ones that maybe aren't 30 plus but are first teamers are sitting at ages like 28, 29, and probably don't have that long left. Financially, at least in-game, they don't seem to have been massively affected by this just yet. Yes, there is a little bit of debt, but there is still a pretty decent amount in the overall balance, and we have £4 million to spend should we want to bring anyone in, and this is where I now get started as manager. We're going to hit the first transfer window hard. I am using an updated transfer pack as of early July, so any transfers made around then will show in-game, but anything after won't. So I'm going to start making my own spin on this squad now, bring some players in, and hopefully we can make this team a European contender in no time. And in the first transfer window, I wasn't able to make major changes just yet. That will hopefully come down the line when we can get some of the big players off the books, but I was able to make a few changes to this team. Firstly, I've got rid of one of the higher earners. Thomas Lemar has left the club to go and play for Monaco in the French league. 27 years of age, not a bad player by any stretch, but I've moved him on for £17 million, rising to 23. Seems like a pretty decent deal, but then you remember how much they spent on him originally from Monaco. Either way, he's not a player that I wanted to work with going forward. I felt like there was value there to be sold, so he's gone, the wages are clear, and that allowed us to bring in a couple of extra players. And I have attempted to lower the age profile of the squad, firstly bringing in a new defender. We have Bafo Diakate here, a 22-year-old who's only coming in really as a squad option, but has the potential to push on a little bit further than that. He signs from Lille in the French league for 17.5 million. He's had a good year there, and I feel like he could be a very capable option in centre-back, particularly as some of the centre-backs we've already got get a little bit older. And we also had a bit of extra depth both at right-back and also centre-back with the signing of Nordi Mukiele. 25 years of age, the Frenchman has signed from Paris Saint-Germain, where he was on the transfer list for 10 million, rising to 11. It seemed like a good deal for the player we're getting. He is a capable player, a versatile player, and I think will definitely benefit the squad, particularly when you see our formation. Because, as you can see, I've gone for a back 3, back 5 tactic, whatever you want to call it. We've got some attacking midfielders. It's quite narrow. It's going to rely a lot on our wing-backs' talents going forward, but I'm hoping this will be very defensively sound. Of course, Atletico have been known for their defensive exploits under Diego Simeone, and I'll be hoping to keep that up. And here is what is currently considered our best 11. In the net, you have Jan Oblak, of course, one of the best. At the back, though, we do start to struggle a little bit, as Stefan Savic is one of our better players, but again, is 32, has 2 years left on his deal, probably won't be around for too much longer in my Atletico Atletico team. Jose Jimenez, also one of the mainstays in the defence, is 28. He is alongside Reinaldo, who is a 29-year-old Mozambique international, with Molina in right wing back, a player I am excited to see because he looks like a very handy talent. And at left wing back, we have Javi Galen, who has been a Football Manager legend of the last few years, but whether he can do it at this club is yet to be seen for us in this save. We've got Rodrigo de Paul and Koke in the midfield, both very capable midfielders. A club legend, 31 years of age, but on a pretty major wage packet, but you can understand it for how long he has been at the club, a real legend of the team. Then going forward, we've got João Felix, the Portuguese international, with Antoine Griezmann and Alvaro Morata, age 30. Now, I know in real life he has moved to AC Milan. I will try and move him on as quick as I can in this rebuild to make it reflect real life, but I'm going to need interest in him. We didn't quite get anything in this first transfer window, despite Man U's interest. They didn't make a bid, and as mentioned, my updated transfer pack only goes to the start of July, so some of the recent transfers we won't have reflected in game, but I'll try and move him on when I can. Now, the aim is of course to win the Champions League with the club, but I think our first step will be dominating in Spain, which is going to take a while, I'd assume, because we're only predicted third place. 17-2 title odds is not the best. In real life, we had Girona come up and finish above Atletico Madrid in the most recent season. I don't think that's going to happen in FM. Girona aren't as highly rated, but either way, we're clearly not favourite outside of Real Madrid and Barcelona. So it is going to take a while to get there, but first let's see what we can do in season 1, lay the groundwork, and then we can really get stuck in making this club our own. And our first season was an interesting one. It both went the way I expected it, but also I feel like we over-exceeded expectations in some areas, and also at the same time I felt disappointed in some other places. For example, one of the first games in our Champions League group saw us come up against Galatasaray, where we managed to beat them 6-0, the first goal coming after 13 minutes through Llorente. But then we have a game like this, where we come up against Atalanta in only the next match in the Champions League, and they managed to beat us 4-0, beating our defence so easily with goals like this. But nonetheless, in the Champions League, we did manage to make it into the knockout rounds, where we were up against Aston Villa, a team that I felt like we could have beat. But despite dominating the game in our home stadium, they broke the deadlock first, Moussa Diaby tucking it in from close range. Thankfully though, Witsel took a penalty in the 95th minute to draw the game, but in the second leg at Villa Park, we got absolutely played off the pitch. And it led to them eventually scoring a winner, Ollie Watkins, in the 80th minute of leg 2, and just like that, we were out of the Champions League. The league was a little bit of a different story though. We managed to finish pretty close to the eventual winners Barcelona, 4 points away from them, 3 points away from Real Madrid, a few points clear of Sevilla in 4th, securing a very strong 3rd place spot. Obviously, we've done exactly what the game predicted us to do, but I actually thought our performance this year was a little further ahead than what I expected. 6 draws across the course of a season, 7 losses, but 25 wins. Clearly the games that we were meant to win, we were. It was just against some of these big teams, as you can see, all away legs, where we did end up losing a match. As you can see, the Cups, there was nothing really to write home about. Real Madrid knocked us out in the semi-final of the Super Cup, beating us 4-3, so that was unfortunate. But there was a bright spot this season, because I asked the assistant to play Samu and Mora Dion as often as possible ahead of Alvaro Morata, because I knew I'm going to sell him anyway, eventually, so I wanted Samu to get as much football as possible to develop, but he didn't just develop, he hit the ground running with 33 goals in 36 league appearances for us. Like I say, in real life, did spend the first year out on loan at the club, but that isn't reflected in game currently. 7.46 average match rating, 3 assists, 9 player of the match awards, a fantastic first season for him. We also had Marcos Llorente performing well, Koke, Rodrigo de Paul, all the expected names, but it was our wing backs that really shone in this system, with Javi Galen being an exceptional left wing back, 18 assists in the league alone. Meanwhile, Molina on the right hand side hit 14 assists, so trying to keep up with each other. Clearly the system is working for our wing backs, they've got a lot of space to get into, and Amora Dion is not a bad player to have in the middle, sweeping up those chances. Now our transfer budget does only have £2 million in it, but there is a pretty sizable wage budget gap here that we can start to move around, and I am going to try and sell some players on. So this is where the fun begins. We're going to start getting rid of some of the players that I don't want, and starting to make this team, this Atletico team, our own. And let's just say in season 2, if you've ever doubted the fact that I use the word rebuild in these videos, this is certainly not a time to, because we have overhauled the squad. Nearly £100 million of sales, over £100 million spent in incomings. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to ask you guys to do me a few favours. If you could smash the like button on the video, it's free to do for you. You can forget you've ever done it after you click it, but it gives me a massive boost here on the channel. And if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you do. We do weekly rebuilds here on the channel, so if you enjoyed this, you'll likely enjoy the rest of what we've got to come and what we've already done. So hit that button and help us get to 40k. Don't forget to comment down below what you want to see next. Every rebuild we do is based on your suggestions. You've been asking for this one for a while, so we have got it done. And finally, if you want to support me as a creator, you can find a Patreon linked in the description. If you do go and check that out, you can support me over there, and in return you will get access to the save files for every single rebuild we do, season 1 through to 5, so you can take over either at the end of a rebuild and continue it, or join in halfway through and try and do a better job than whatever I do. And that's not just for this rebuild, it's for every one that we've ever done. But let's get into the transfers, because there's a lot to run through. And Atletico fans, if you want to look away, now is the time. I have sold on club legend Koke. Now don't get me wrong, he wasn't someone that was on my first list to really get out of the club, but he wanted to move himself. It wasn't my choice. He wanted to go to Al Ali, and you can understand why. Look at the contract he's been given, 925 grand a week to finish off his career. Not bad at all. We do lose a very key player in the squad. £36 million is the fee, so not a bad deal for someone that was on major wages. We get him off the books, we get some money in for him. He's an older player too, and as good as he was for us, it's time now to find some new talent. But not before shifting on some more old heads like Axel Witsel, who was on over £100,000 a week. He's gone to Al Shabab, age 35. He'll play some football over there. He was pretty integral for us last year, to be honest. Played a lot of football for us, but we do move him on 1.7 million, and again, we're going to reinvest it. Cesar Azpilicueta, as a Chelsea fan, is a player that I absolutely love, but in this world, he was on over 100 grand a week and just wasn't playing much at all. Played 8 times for us last year, so we've shipped him on for a very minimal fee, but the bonus is we get those wages off the books, and that is the real theme of this transfer window. Stefan Savic is also out the door. He's gone to join Al Batin, a side out in Saudi Arabia, and not one that I think I've encountered before, but either way, that's where the Montenegrin has gone. £2.8 million is the fee for him, another one gone off a wage bill. Angel Correa has been loaned out for this season to RB Leipzig, having complained about his game time last year. And the same story goes for Brazilian Samuel Lino, another one that complained, so he's gone to Bayer Leverkusen for the season on loan. But the sales aren't done. We lost one of our more talented youngsters, Arthur Vermeeren, who said he'd be upset if we did not sell him to PSG when they came in for him. Now I know he is good in real life, but in FM, I feel like we'd really need to force him into the lineup to get him some development. I don't think he's quite at that level just yet, and it would have been really just pushing him in the way to try and develop him in the hopes he would become good. So I wasn't too upset about selling him. I know it is a loss for Atletico as a club, but I'm starting this rebuild as my own job. This is me coming in as manager, getting rid of the players I don't want, and he has moved to PSG for 6 million. And the fact that he's in their second team tells you he's probably not quite up to it just yet. 2 sales to go still. One is Reynaldo, who we have sold on age 30 to Al Qadsia for 12.5 million. Played 16 times last season, mainly off the bench, and now moves on, gets himself a nice contract. But he's another one that we get off the books and get some good money for. But if this wasn't already a summer of transition, it definitely is now. Antoine Griezmann has also left. Not someone that I wanted to sell yet again, but once more, Saudi team came in, offered him major wages, and he was basically distraught if I rejected it, but I still rejected it. And then I said to him, you know what? They were offering about 40 million at this time. If they can reach about 60 million, we will let you go. And they did exactly that. They came in and they said, you know what? Here's 55 million, rising to 63. When you see how he performed for us last year, it's not the biggest loss ever. I'm not sure he's a player that really suits Football Manager. I think he's brilliant in real life, but to get 60 million for a 33-year-old, you kind of have to just take it. So we made loads of money from the sales, but also freed up nearly £700,000 of wage budget, and that meant we could start rebuilding this team, but also we didn't want to go too crazy in the market, although I think I might have overstepped that boundary a little bit. The first incoming was Rosenborg's Severe House of Nijpan. If you don't know, I only use recommendations from our scouts in these saves. I don't use my own knowledge, but they recommended him highly, and thank God, because we have got a great talent for the future here. The Norwegian 17-year-old is one of the best wonder kids in FM this year. here. We've signed him for only 3 million and we've loaned him straight back out to Norway. When he eventually joins us, he will lower the age profile of the squad. Don't worry about him now, he is one for later. A player that comes in to offer us some depth at centre-back though, with all the departures, is going to be Mauro Perkovic. I felt like we needed another option there. Don't worry, there is another signing at centre-back that we'll get to, but Perkovic is a Croatian 21-year-old with an international appearance who we pick up for 6.5 million. He joins from Zagreb in Croatia, and I think he's already a good player. He's never going to be world class, but he'll be a good squad level player to really just deputise for all of the others when needed. But then we started spending money, and this is one of 4 pretty big signings that we've brought to the club. Firstly, we have signed Strahinja Pavlovic, AC Milan target in real life, playing for Salzburg. We have picked him up for £27 million, rising to 30, high average match ratings out in Austria, a player that's known for being quite a creative centre-back, even if in-game it doesn't necessarily represent that, but he is a very strong, powerful defender, a Serbian international, 23, years to get better, left-footed, ideally what we wanted in the back line, and he is now in, and really bodes well for the future, age 23. He's got another 10 years left in the tank yet before we have to think about him declining. The young theme continued with the signing of a new central midfielder. Joris Chotard is in, 22-year-old signing from Montpellier out in Ligue 1, a very good player. Might have overpaid a little bit on him, £32 million is the fee. I don't want to say he is the Koke replacement just yet, because I don't think he's quite there, but I think in time he could be, and with Witsel leaving as well, that was our 2 starting midfielders gone, so we needed one more. And what better player to signify the future of our team than signing one of the best 19-year-olds around. João Neves has joined the club from Benfica, our new number 6, 45.5 million, and probably the real heir to that Koke throne. I say 45.5, I think it can rise a little bit, it can to 48. A player with great ability, huge potential too, already a world-class superstar in my eyes with the ability he's got, and he's going to fit perfectly in that midfield for us. But Griezmann did leave later on in the window, and suddenly I needed a new number 10, a new player to go alongside João Felix, who has found a new lease of life under our management, so I have bought in Håkon Arnar Haraldsson. The only issue is how much we spent on him. You can see how good he is, how highly he's rated, age 21, an Icelandic international. We have paid nearly 50 million, which might seem like a lot, but he was doing really well for Lille in Ligue 1. There was other teams interested, we weren't the only one, and his value is higher than what we've paid. Now I know I made a big deal about the financial side of Atletico, and now I've gone and spent a hell load of money, but we did move on so many key players. I feel like this is the only time really in this rebuild where we're going to spend as much as we did, or at least that's what I think is going to happen. Who knows what actually will. But talk about a turnaround, because in the space of 1 season, this team is already starting to look like our own. I mean, Oblak is our best goalie still, but Mukiele, Jimenez and Pavlovic is our new back line with 2 incomings from our transfers. Galen, Molina, De Paul and Lorente are players that were already here who are taking up spots in the team, while João Felix, Haraldsson and Morata finish off the rest. But realistically, it's Amora Dion. Again, Morata, another player that I was unable to get rid of in this window, but we're going to ask Amora Dion to play as often as possible still to counteract the fact that Morata is still here and isn't in real life. Meanwhile, Sal Niguez, I have tried to move him on, but he's just not interested. No one really wants him, but the team is in a good place. I feel like it might be a worse season than last year because of the whole changes that we've had, but in time, I feel like these transfers will really reflect well. But the first season with this new team might be a bit of a struggle. Let's see what the game thinks. With the quality of play that we've sold, we are now actually predicted, is that better odds or worse? I can't calculate it with the maths off the top of my head, but it's similar, right? What was it, 17-2 to 9-1? So about the same area. I'm not going to do the maths. Either way, Real Madrid, Barcelona still predicted as favourites. We are there as the second favourite club. Amora Dion supposedly one of the best players in the nation now, which goes a long way in terms of how good he is already. But now we're ready to go. Season 2, lots of money spent, lots of players sold. Can we get better results, or have we messed up this core of the team that Atletico have been building for a number of years now? Well, this season was again a mixed bag. I don't know how to feel about what's going on at the minute. Bear in mind we are aiming to win La Liga and the Champions League in 5 years, and in year 2, this is where we finish in the Champions League. In the league phase, we didn't even make it to the knockout rounds. We got 8 points, which we thought would be enough, but it wasn't. We only won 1 game in the competition, drew 5 and lost 2. We just couldn't seem to get wins over the line. So the Champions League was a massive flop this year, but in other competitions, we weren't so bad. Because having knocked out Barcelona in the semi-final of the Spanish Super Cup, we came up in a final against Real Madrid. Early on, they got off to a bright start with Tchouaméni blasting home, but as the minutes ticked on, 84 minutes on the clock, a set piece from us ended up with an equaliser, Mukiele pulling it back and João Neves, the new signing, scoring his most important goal yet. But we did manage to create another chance. In the 105th minute, a cross came in and Morata powered home. And at that point, it looked like we might be on for our first piece of silverware, leading in extra time against our Madrid rivals. But that didn't last long. Only 2 minutes later, in the second half of extra time, Valverde came forward, found loads of space and somehow put it past Oblak. That led to a penalty shootout where in sudden death, Nordi Mukiele stepped up, needing to score, but Courtois saved. And unfortunately, we did lose the final, and in the Spanish Cup itself, the Copa del Rey, we got knocked out very early on by a second tier side, Albacete. But thankfully, this season in the league, things did go a little bit better. You saw last year that we really struggled against the big teams, but this season we did manage to get one over on Real Madrid. Javi Galen playing in a great cross and Amora Dion scoring. And we continued to play football down at left hand side. Perkovic, the centre back, getting forward, finding Javi Galen, very dangerous on that left hand side. Another cross finding Amora Dion, he knocked it down and Herolton powered home, and that helped us win a game that last season I feel like we would have struggled in. But despite all of that, we still finished in third place. Now it must be said that 87 points last year I think would have been enough to win the title. This season, not quite, but we have separated the gap from fourth a little bit more than before, which is one bonus that we can take from this season. We were only 1 point away from Barcelona just ahead of us, but Real Madrid did run away with the league, 94 points. So it's not the worst season, it is progress in all fronts other than maybe the Champions League, but realistically we are going to start needing to do better in season 3, but there are definitely some positives we can take from this season. Once again, Amora Dion fantastic, and our two wing backs really shining in their respective positions. 14 assists from Javi Galen, and then if we have a look at Molina, he managed to pull off 10 assists this year, so both of them creating tons of chances for us. One high point of this save so far probably is the resurgence of João Felix, who has found his home again here at Atletico now that Diego Simeone is gone. A much better season from him this year round, and on top of that we had João Neves chipping in with 10 goals, Herolton hit 7, maybe not as many as we would have wanted, but with the season over it's time to look ahead to season 3 where we've got £25 million to spend, £650,000 a wage budget, which is a hell of a lot. We are going to have a very nice budget to play with in the coming window. Again, we still need to shift some players on. Morata's still here, as is Sal Niguez, and a bunch of others I want to get rid of. So let's see what we can do in the season 3 transfer window. Now I did say I would calm down in the season 3 transfer window, and I did a little bit, but we still spent probably about £100 million and made a similar amount in sales, so let's get into it. The first departure was Rodrigo de Paul, another one that's been offered a mega contract by Saudi, wanted to go, but again, another one that was on the older side that we were happy to get a good fee for, 30 million, but we are losing a key contributor who last year was arguably one of the best midfielders in the world, 13 goals and 20 assists from central midfield. Marcus Paulo has also moved on. If anybody knows who he is, I don't, but we have sold him to Alaves for £1 million. And the first one of our own signings that departs is Bafode Diakate, who hasn't really grown at centre-back, but it's not the end of the world. We didn't lose a huge amount, £7 million or so is the fee that we've lost really over the course of those 2 years. But he played 22 times, he contributed fairly well. Sometimes you get things wrong, and I think that might be one of them. But we can rejoice, we've definitely got one right here. We have managed to shift on Sal Niguez, and we're not paying any of his wages either, to Almeria of all clubs that have been able to sign him. £5 million is the fee for the man that didn't contribute much, but again, I just wanted to get him off the books. He's getting 110 grand a week there, so he's done pretty well for himself, has taken a wage cut, is a decent player, but just wasn't at the level we needed anymore. Angel Correa has also moved on. He is going to play for Levante, age 30, £7.5 million for him. Spent last season at Leipzig, did okay, but isn't someone that's played much for us, so another one we can say goodbye to. And finally, we can rejoice, Alvaro Morata has also left. A good player, by no means he is a bad player, but he was someone that I've wanted to get rid of since season 1 because of his real life situation, and probably the final one out of those major high earners that I felt shouldn't have been at the club anymore. He's moved for 16 million to go and play for my hometown of Leicester, rising to 20 million. He did score quite a lot off the bench last year, but we've lost him now. He's moved on, and good luck to him. Now for the fun part though, the incomings, where we bring in a very good signing in Bilal El Kanous, someone that I see in pretty much every rebuild that I never go for. This time though, in the tactical tactic we're using, this is a man that we want. 21 years of age, a brilliant playmaker, a Moroccan international who we have signed from Genk for a release clause fee of 23 million. If he was playing for someone else, he'll be valued at far higher than that. Comes in as one of the best players in the squad already, and I think is a fantastic signing for us. A new backup goalkeeper for the future, with all eyes on Oblak, who is still a very good goalie but isn't getting any younger. Dennis Simon is in. Our scouts rated him as one of the best young goalkeepers out there. He will be our backup this year. £5 million from Stuttgart, get him some football, and then by the time he's 23, 24, Oblak will have retired and he can take over. Our Morata replacement as our backup striker is going to be Emmanuel Omega, who we have signed from Strasbourg for 14 million. Now I must say, when I first saw him on the scout report, it wasn't a fully complete report, and never buy anyone until the report's complete, because I bought him and have since found out that he's not as good as our scouts thought. He's probably a waste of transfer money. He's apparently only good enough for the second tier, but you know what? I'm hoping he'll prove everyone wrong. Mies Hilgers is in at centre-back, Diakate leaves, and for not too much more than what we sold him for, we have signed the brilliant player from Twente. He's been playing in the Eredivisie and playing very well. A good ball-playing defender with some good physical attributes to go alongside it. 24, a Netherlands international, a perfect addition to our free centre-back partnership. And as good as Javi Galen has been, I cannot resist Miguel Gutierrez being on the transfer list at Girona for only 30 million. So he has came in after 2 great seasons for them. Him and Galen will compete over the next year or so, but Galen isn't getting any younger, so the idea is to start phasing him out, bring Gutierrez in, and continue to get the output that we've been getting recently from wing-back. We don't want to lose that, and I think Gutierrez could potentially even do better than what Galen's been doing. But that was our final signing of the window, and with it complete, we now have a very, very strong team in my eyes. I don't quite know if this is good enough to challenge for the title just yet, but Oblak, Jimenez, Higas, and Pavlovic is a very strong defence, a really physical backline with Molina and Gutierrez as fantastic wing-backs. Llorente and Neves is a midfield of dreams, both very hard-working, with Herolton, Felix, and Amora Dion up top. What we can see now, though, is a very good bench filled with lots of great young talents, lots of options that can come on and influence games. If we're playing 2 games a week, we have got the options to do so now. Now, I don't think we were quite there before, but maybe the biggest thing that we've done, if we now look at the wage structure, yes, we still have Oblak on his mega contract and Jean Felix on his, as well as Marcus Llorente, but overall, the wages are down massively. And if we look at the age of the squad too, we still do have a few older players over the age of 30, but mainly we're looking at 27-year-olds, 25-year-olds, and younger. So I definitely feel like we have done exactly what we've set out to do. But now it's time to start winning some competitions. The only issue is the odds have actually gone down for us to win the league. That could be because we've got worse. I actually think we've got better. I think the main thing will be Real Madrid improving their squad. And by the way, in this world, whilst we didn't get Morata gone through the transfer update, they did get Kylian Mbappe. So I feel like we've been kind of done over here by this transfer update. They've got a very strong squad, lots of great players, and they're only going to get better. But that's what we're here for. We knew La Liga was going to be a challenge. We're heading into our 3rd season out of the 5 now, so fingers crossed we can start looking a little bit more like contenders and start getting some form under our belts to hopefully push on to some silverware. Okay, for the first time in this rebuild, I feel like we can say we are happy with the season we've just had. We're going to cover all 4 competitions, but let's start off with the Spanish Super Cup. And there's not too much to note in the game here, other than we went into a final against Barcelona, it headed to penalties, they missed their first penalty, and we managed to score ours. The goals then continued to flow, Fabio Vieira for them, and Jose Maria Jimenez for us. Ronald Araujo tucked away for Barcelona with a delicate chip, and João Neves scored from the spot to keep us in front. Eventually it went to sudden death. Lamine Yamal stepped up and Barca's star boy missed, and it was Nordi Mukiele who missed the penalty earlier on in a previous season. He stepped up, unfazed, scored, and the Spanish Super Cup was ours, our first piece of silverware, and maybe not the most prestigious trophy we could have won so far, but that wasn't the only cup competition we were playing in, because in the Spanish Cup we came up in the final against our rivals Real Madrid, who opened the scoring through Vinicius Jr., but thankfully we managed to pull a goal back in the 56th minute. Some good play led to a João Felix shot and a goal for us. And from there, it was a boring game. We went to penalties and we scored our first. And everybody continued to score until once again, sudden death, Fabian stepped up for Real Madrid and Oblak saved. And of all people, it was Giuliano Simeone who stepped up from the spot to score the goal and win us the Spanish Cup. So his dad left the club a long time ago, but we still had a Simeone here at Atletico helping us win some trophies. But of course, the real aim is still the Champions League. And in that competition, things didn't go as as well. We did knock out Feyenoord in the knockout playoff round, but then we were drawn against Inter. We drew 1-1 in our home leg, which didn't bode well, and Lautaro Martinez scored after 33 minutes to put his side in the lead. And they extended their lead just before half-time through Thuram. Amora Dion did prove his place as one of the best strikers in Europe though, as we counter-attacked El Canous, managing to find him, who broke forward and hit a great shot to score, but it wasn't enough, and we did eventually lose that game 3-2, knocked out in the round of 16 yet again. We still haven't gone further than that, but we can count some progress in the league, where we got 90 points, which again feels like it should be enough to maybe win the league, but every year the other clubs step it up. This time we have finished above Barcelona by a big 7-point margin, but I mean Real Madrid 96 points, 2 losses all season, 6 draws, one of which came against us. We lost to Madrid away from home. It's just, yeah, it's tough. They're very hard to compete with. They're Real Madrid, but we are getting better. We're upgrading our points tally every single season. We are heading in the right direction. We've got 2 pieces of silverware under our belt now, but with 2 years left to go, there's still no league title and no sign of a Champions League anywhere near just yet. Even by the time we get to season 5, we might be struggling to get that at all. But let's have a look at who we can rely on after this year. Molina, once again, fantastic from right wing back. If we have a look, 16 assists, one of the stars of this rebuild. And as expected, the other wing back has also done very well. Miguel Gutierrez, 15 assists, proving exactly why we bought him in. Amora Dion with 39 goals. We had João Felix scoring 20, João Neves with 8. João Felix, what a season it was for him, really. I should cover that a little bit more. This is a guy that not too long ago was dead in the water here, really, at the club, and now he is a good player, even if the fans dislike the player. I don't know how they still do. Hopefully we can somehow turn that around. I've never really seen that in Football Manager, but he is disliked, unfortunately. But there we go. That is season 3 done. We've got 2 years left to go. And once again, we go into a window with more wage budget, really, than the transfer budget. If we balance that out a bit more, there we go. We've got about £30 million to spend. We may have some major sales. We may not. I don't know what's going to happen in season 4. But let's kick off with some transfers. And I promise you, I really did go into this window aiming to have a quieter one, develop some of the talents we've already got, but once again, it ended up being loads of players sold for big money and lots of new incomings too. Firstly, we have lost Mauro Perkovic, who's moved to Al Shabab. The 23-year-old now Croatian is a fully fledged international. He's got a great career out of it. We spent 6 million on him. He's played plenty of times, done well when called upon, and now moved on for 12.5 mil. Good luck to him, a good servant and not a bad transfer. This is a deal that I couldn't believe though. Samuel Lino, who only has really been appearing at wing back for us because we don't play wingers, has moved to Barcelona. Bear in mind I've sent him on loan for 2 seasons in a row, never could get an offer for him, and then suddenly Barcelona rock up and say, hey, drop 34 million for him. I've never said yes quicker. He is gone. But we have another big sale. As soon as our players hit 30, it seems like Saudi comes calling and none of them can resist, and who can blame them? Marcus Llorente goes to Al Hilal, 850 grand a week. They are spending crazy money. He's been really good for us, but 50 million rising to 62. The original bid started off at about 35, so I have done pretty well, I think, to get it up that much. He is now gone, a lot of money coming in, and we needed to replace him because he was a key player, and as you can see, a world-class midfielder. Firstly, a youngster signing that I've brought in is Franco Mastantuono, who I'm very happy to announce is going to be a future number 10 for this club. He signed from River Plate for 7.5 million. He's now 18 years of age, and he's going to be a big deal. Whether it will come to fruition in this rebuild in the time we've got left, I don't know, but he is one of the stars in that position going forward, so a great addition to our side. And with Perkovic leaving, you might have thought our defence was weakened, but no, Mark Guehi has signed from Crystal Palace, age 26, England international, had a great Euros in real life. What have we done with him in game? How much did we pay for him? Well, he cost us nothing. He left Crystal Palace as a free agent. We swooped in. Where else would you want to be a centre back than Atletico Madrid? Everything you love, defending, getting stuck in, you are going to do it loads here. So Mark Guehi is in as a new defender for us. Speaking of free transfers, we have added some extra depth to our midfield with the signing of Lazar Samardzic, only a squad level player, not considered great, but we got him on a free from Udinese, where he's been pretty good in Serie A. Not too much to note, always ends up being a free agent in FM, and age 24, he's either resale value or a good squad level player. But with Llorente leaving, I decided to spend big money on a starting midfielder, someone that is going to tear it up in the league, and I feel like this guy will. Manu Kone, 25 years of age, in his prime, a France international, which goes a long way, because France are stacked in the midfield. Either way, he's joined us for 65 million quid. I know it's a lot. It was a release clause fee from Borussia Mönchengladbach. I know this is crazy money for Atletico, let's be honest, but they've spent a hell of a lot more on players like João Felix in the past, and we are making up for it in the sales we are making. And again, I mean, Llorente leaves for a similar fee, was on probably double the wages of Manu Kone, so it all works out in the end, and I feel like, again, this is a good improvement for the team. And here we go, here is the new look side. Now, I've absolutely loved using this tactic, to be honest. I kind of came up a little bit with it myself, used one of the in-game presets and adjusted some tactics with it, but yeah, I mean, Oblak's in goal, Jimenez, Hilgers, Pavlovic, a very strong defence, but it's the wing-backs where we've got the most joy in this rebuild. We did reject 60 million for Gutierrez from Chelsea, so we are hanging on to some of those key players. But there's our team, it's ready to go. We've got a great set of bench players too and reserves. The squad is absolutely stacked now. The tactic seems to be working well. It's time to push on. 7-1 odds. Is that the highest we've had so far? Maybe. I can't really remember at this point, but we are still third favourites. Barca, Real Madrid ahead of us. Real Madrid pretty much guaranteed to win the league with them odds. But we're going to try and disrupt that. We'll do the best we can. We are now heading in to season 4. Can we pick up some more silverware? Can we challenge in the league? Let's see how we do. Okay, season 4 is complete, and I feel like every season in this rebuild has had more drama every single time, and this is arguably the most drama I've had in a rebuild so far in a single season. Let's start off with the Super Cup though, where Gutierrez got sent off in the final after only 7 minutes. And that obviously gave confidence to Real Madrid, who scored once, twice, made that 3 times. And that was gutting. We had lost the Spanish Super Cup final and couldn't retain it. But what about the Spanish Cup? Well, it was our chance to get revenge because once again, it was Real Madrid. And somehow it was that man once more, João Neves, playing in and Mukiele scoring the goal. But as we know so far in this rebuild, Real Madrid are always one-upping us, and they did it once more. Not too long after, Endrick scored to equalise, and with 96 minutes played of the game, Sugawara down the right-hand side, we tried to get it away. We didn't really do very well. Camavinga, it was scrappy, but Real Madrid beat us. That was 2 cup finals lost, and it felt like it was just going to be another one of those gutting seasons. But in the Champions League, we had at least made the round of 16 this year. And it was fellow Spanish side Barcelona who we faced at that stage of the competition. Amora Dion absolutely destroyed them, and we also had 2 goals from your man, João Felix. Maybe Atletico fans will like him now. We managed to win that tie 6-5 on aggregate, which set up a quarter-final show against a fellow Spanish side yet again in Real Madrid. Now, we beat them 1-0 at the Bernabeu and got off to a flyer at our own stadium. Once again, it was Mukiele, and he was instrumental in goal number 2, bombing down the right hand side, pulling it back to Manu Kone, who then found a player in the area, João Neves, tucked it in off the post, and we had won 3-0. And it was Arsenal in the semis up next. In leg 1, we got off to a flyer, Miguel Gutierrez after 15 minutes, finding Mora Dion, and it was 1-0 us. Not too long afterwards, just on the brink of half time, João Neves found Molina, another one of our wing backs getting involved, a great ball in, and you guessed it, Samuel Mora Dion, 2 goals, 2 headers. Arsenal have got talent of their own, of course, and just after half-time, Arteta's clearly got into them because Havertz managed to score to pull one back. And he might not have been the most key player for us this season, but if he does nothing else, Lazar Samardzic will never live this goal down. What a strike, 3-1. And it was off to the Emirates we went as we looked to try and hold our lead in the game. Arsenal, though, had different ideas. Odegaard's block shot, finding Sule, back to Odegaard, and suddenly it was 3-2. But not to worry, because we had a secret agent, Aaron Ramsdale, clearly annoyed at being replaced by David Raya at Arsenal, came running out, left his goal free, and let Samuel Mora Dion tap it in to the back of the net. There were 2 goals behind at this point, and Gabriel Jesus did power home to pull it down to only 1, but it wasn't enough. Arsenal could not score again, our defence held out, and we were now heading to a Champions League final. And having lost their last 3 Champions League finals, you can forgive me for being pessimistic as we came up against Bayern Munich, particularly after they scored through Oscar Bob in the 60th minute. But this is a new look Atletico team. We don't give up, and with 80 minutes on the clock, one of the young heads, El Canous, found Samuel Mora Dion, knocked it back for João Neves, who tucked it away, and we were going to penalties. Now, just to let you know, before you see these penalties, in this game up to this point, Bayern Munich had 35 shots, 3.9 XG. Meanwhile, we had 9 shots in the whole game, 3 on target and 0.6 XG. But Jan Oblak, a player that's been here for a number of years, had put in the performance of his life and was sitting on an 8 rating before the penalty shootout. He's obviously seen a lot of heartache here at Atletico, and it looked like there might be more as Enciso opened the scoring. João Felix, though, put all of his haters to rest as he scored to make it 1-1. Up stepped Brian Zaragoza, who made it 2, but Lazar Samardzic tucked it away just about to equalise. Up stepped Goretzka for Bayern Munich, another penalty in the back of the net, and Emmanuel Omega, no matter what we paid for him, it was all worth it with this goal. Up stepped Alphonso Davies, though, and Oblak managed to make a save, and Javi Galen tucked away his penalty from the spot. Bayern had to score to stay in it, and Oscar Bob did did so, but now we had the chance to win the Champions League, and the penalty was coming down to our young Moroccan, Bilal Al-Khanous. Have you ever seen a longer run up to a penalty in your life? He went all the way from the edge of the box, ran all the way in, and tucked it away. No fear shown. We had managed to win the Champions League in Season 4. We had finally done it. We've still got another year left to go, so maybe we can retain it. But that wasn't the only competition we were doing well in, because in the league we finally managed to overthrow Barcelona and Real Madrid, and I said this was a season full of drama. You've already seen it in the 3 games there. 2 finals lost, 1 final run. What about in a league title where you win it by 1 point with both teams behind you on 90 points? An incredible turn of results. Some superstar seasons from some of our players we have to thank here. Bilal El-Khanous scoring 10 goals, the most important being that penalty in the final. João Neves with 7. Manu Kone with 15 goals, 35 from Dion. Miguel Gutierrez with another phenomenal season from left wing back, but credit has to go to Molina, the star of this rebuild so far. Another 14 assists. His seasons get better and better. What a player he is. But we still have another year left. We still have more time for more trophies. We've got £96 million to spend now, 300 grand the wage budget. In the meantime, I have been upgrading the facilities at the club. We've got a maximum reputation too. So we're going into our final season on a real high, and now we just need to add some star talent if we want to repeat the success of last year. Okay, we head into our final season. It's the last time I'll be able to ask you, so if you have enjoyed to this point, please press the like button, please subscribe, but let's see our transfers. And for once, we kept it calm in the transfer market. Only a couple of sales. Carlos Martin leaving to Sevilla for 4.6 million. And Rodrigo Riquelme, who's been a very good servant for us, has left to play for Altai out in Saudi for 7.5 million. Coming in, we have a new gen defender, one for you guys on Patreon. If you continue this save, you'll have a great young centre-back to work with, an either-footed defender from Brazil by the name of Edison with some huge potential. And after spending 20 million on him, we also spent 30 odd million pounds on Amir Richardson, a 25-year-old Moroccan midfielder signing from Reims, where he has been a very good player. Our scouts recommended him really highly. He's been playing in Ligue 2 and Ligue 1 out in France and doing a very good job of it. So he is in, and he is an extra option in that midfield. And that was all we did. Our best 11 was now set up to go. Jan Oblak was in goal with Hilgers, Gerhi and Pavlovic as a great defence. Molina, Gutierrez, Neves, Kone, Heroldson, Felix and Dion make up the rest of the side. And whilst we still are predicted to finish 3rd in the league, we now have 4-1 odds to win the title. So we've definitely got a chance of doing it this season if we did it last. Jose Mourinho is now the manager of Real Madrid suddenly. I don't know how that's happened. And Barcelona still have Hansi Flick, but we've definitely worked this squad into a better position with a mixture of ages too. This squad is ready for the future, not just right now. But speaking of right now, we need to see how we do in our 5th and final season. Our team is ready to go. Can we win some more silverware in Season 5? And I'll be honest, if I could edit this whole video and say it was just a 4-season rebuild, I wish I could, because this season did not go as well. We did win the UEFA Super Cup, thankfully, Samuel Dion scoring twice to beat Aston Villa, but the Copa del Rey we were knocked out in round 3 by Sporting Gijon, and the Spanish Super Cup, Barcelona took us out in the semi-final 2-1. But of course, the Champions League this season was ours to retain, and in the knockout rounds, we came up against Juve. And we actually got off to a flyer. That man João Felix scored, but he wasn't content with just 1 goal. The Atletico fans might hate him, but he scored twice in what was eventually a 6-4 demolition of the Italian giants, putting us up against Chelsea in the round of 16. The away tie ended 0-0, but Christopher Nkunku scored a rocket of a free kick. That was at our stadium, and that was all that happened. They beat us 1-0. We could not get past Chelsea's team. They went on in the competition, and we were knocked out in the round of 16. So it was only the league left. And this year, we were in a title battle with Barcelona. Only a few points between us. We played them at the Nou Camp, and Pablo Torre scored a free kick after 3 minutes. If that wasn't enough, Pablo Torre again involved, finding Gavi, who hit this shot from long range. I don't know how he got so much space, but he made it too. 15 minutes on the clock, a corner ended up falling out to Pedri. He pulled it back to Lamine Yamal. Along comes the ball back to Pedri. It's free. And again, another corner before half-time. Pedri back to Lamine Yamal. He got it on his left foot, and once that happens, there's only one result. If 4-0 wasn't bad enough, Barcelona were not done with us. Pedri on the edge of the area, finds Semi-Killer Scoy in the box. He has room to turn, makes it 5. And there was only a month left of the season after that, and I don't want to say the tides are only blowing one way away after that game. But that is exactly what happened. Barcelona ran away with the title. We got 90 points, which is respectable and usually enough to win the league, but they got 95. Congratulations to them. Disappointing in all competitions this year. It just shows you do have to spend £100 million every season to keep competing in the top levels of European football. I shouldn't have rested on my laurels with the squad we had. Nonetheless, I think we can be happy with what we've done in this rebuild. Upgraded the club's infrastructure, lowered their wage bill, we got rid of any debts they might have had too, we've lowered the age of the team, we've got youngsters like Amora Dion scoring 26, and we also had one of the world's most expensive transfers finally come good for us, scoring 23 goals in his most recent season. Is he still hated? Yes he is. João Felix, there is nothing I can do to help you at this point. The reputation is still 5-star, the facilities are max, the finances, there's loads of money in the balance and barely any transfer debt. We've achieved everything that we wanted to. For anyone wondering, Diego Simeone, heartbroken after losing his job at Atletico, actually retired after no one picked him up. Koke is now a decent assistant manager, and if we look at the icons list, Samu Amora Dion isn't too far behind. Another few seasons and he will be a club legend. But there we go, that is our Atletico Madrid rebuild complete. I've absolutely loved this one. It's great taking a club that's already really good but fixing some really big problems they have. Hopefully the future will bode well for them, but we have done it. Our rebuild is complete. Let me know who you want to see next and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.